Welcome to part 10 of our live training process here with our drag race Honda S2000. Now this tutorial we're going to be focusing on setting up the launch control and the anti-lag, making sure that we can build instant boost off the line when we want to launch at the drag strip. We don't want to run an aggressive type of launch control because that can damage the exhaust valves on the S2000 engines, the notorious problem that they have. So we're going to learn how we can implement a soft type of launch control that generates instant boost pressure, also making sure that we have our fueling in line and our spark timing in line so that it's going to do exactly what we want. Lastly, we're going to take a look at setting up our onboard data logging so that when we're meeting certain conditions, it's going to turn our logging on. We'll go down the drag strip, coming back to the pits, it's going to record all the data. We want to go and make sure we have the proper channels being data logged and the proper speeds set on our onboard logger. So that's the last thing we're going to cover here. And then we need to go out and test our vehicles. So this is going to be wrapping up the live training process. Without further wait, let's jump in so we can check this out. Welcome back to our live training session here with our drag race Honda S2000. This tutorial we're going to be finishing up our training series here with setting up a launch control, going in and tweaking, and just going to go over this real quick, my lean protection. I'm going to talk about why I changed that here heading into this tutorial. And then we're just going to make sure our onboard logging is set up with appropriate channels and logging speeds and conditions to turn the logging on and off for this vehicle. So when it hits the drag strip, we're going to be able to get the data out and start to take a look at everything and not have any problems because the data logs are invaluable. You don't want to waste passes down the quarter mile because it's wear and tear on parts. Everything's super expensive to build these kind of cars. So we want to make sure that that is going to be dialed in. The onboard logging is just super imperative. So let's go and talk about how we're going to be setting up, or why I set up my lean protection table a little bit differently than what we cover in the base map creation tutorial. Talk about what I've changed there, and then we'll move into our launch control and start to configure that. It's relatively simple. We're going to be integrating a trim pot and seeing how that's going to work within our launch control routine. So let's move here from our fuel tab and let's go over here to our safety tab. Now in here I have my general purpose rev limiter table 1. This is where we set up our lean protection. Now what we have going on here, initially we had this based on our map as our axes on the side here, so map pressure. And then we had our math block that we've created. This is comparing lambda minus our target lambda. And we're finding if we have a negative value, that means that we're going to be richer than our target. If we have a positive value, that means that we're going to be leaner than our target. If we're leaner, then we want to go ahead and initiate a cut. So we're saying here 0.1 lambda and leaner, we're going to want a cut to turn on. Now the problem here is going to be when we're on the launch control, we're going to be cutting spark. That's going to create a lean condition or a lean reading on our wideband. That can initiate the lean cut when we're on the launch control. Now the way around this, the easiest way around this, is set the runtime value on our axes here to launch control status. This is either going to be on or off, 0 or 1. 0's off, 1's on. So what we're going to find here is I just kept my math block that we've created. And then looking in the table here, we're going to find if we're 0, so we don't have the launch control on, we want to have our lean protection being enabled here, let's say from 0.1 to 1.5, anywhere in that range. That means we're way, way lean. We want to go and set it at something like 5,000 RPM for a cut to happen. So under normal driving conditions, we're going to be below 5,000, not anything to really worry about here. When we're going to be driving this car hard, going on track, we're definitely going to be above 5,000. That's where we want that cut to actually happen at. So it's going to compare that. It's going to wait 1 second for that to happen. Now, when the launch control status is active, we're going to keep the limiter here at 10,000. We're essentially going to bypass and override any of that lean protection because we have that cut in place. And we don't want to have that essentially coincide with the launch control and have the vehicle essentially go into shutdown mode because it's in this situation here where it's kicking into our lean protection. So let's go ahead and store this change to our link here real quick. So that's going to be just a quick update we want to take care of. Now the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is jump into the actual launch control tab. So let's go ahead and scroll across our windows here and let's go into launch control. Now in here, we're going to go ahead and set some things up. Let me go back in here, just shut some things down. So we're going to find when we enter into our screen here, we're going to find that the launch control is going to be off. We need to go and turn it on and then configure all of the details so that we can launch the engine where we want to in terms of engine RPM, and then also launch it because this is turbocharged and build the boost off the line. Now, a few things about the S2000 specific motors, the F-Series motors, they're very sensitive to anti-lag. If you are on too much anti-lag, you can very easily bend the exhaust valves within maybe 2 or 3 times of testing. So we have to be careful with that, and we want a soft, nice, even cut. We don't want a hard popping and banging cut because that will definitely be hard on the engine and hard on the exhaust valves we're going to constantly have to replace those. So we're going to be mindful of that as we're setting this up. Now, based on this car running before, when it was on the stock ECU, we were launching it anywhere between 75 and 8,500 RPM, and we were trying to get around 20 to 25 pounds of boost. So that's going to be kind of the sweet spot. What I'm going to do is try to emulate that. I'm going to build right around 20 pounds as a starting point. We can tweak and adjust that as needed. I'll explain how to do that as we go through here and take a look at setting up our tables. Let's go in and jump in and take a look at how we're going to be doing this. I'm going to go into my launch mode here, and I'm going to go and turn it into my option of 3D launch RPM table. The latch large launch RPM is going to be for a rolling anti-lag. Single launch RPM is going to allow us to just have a singular cut RPM. That would be if you have an NA motor and you don't want to do anything fancy with the cut. We just do a single RPM. It's really basic. I'm going to do a 3D launch RPM table, and we can use that. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.